It's
you got four guys here.
It's a free form as soon as we're out of the intro, and I feel like we just couldn't.
Remember, you're doing a show with a bunch of alpha males. We were all alpha.
Well,
I can't say that with a straight face.
Fucking bro, dude. Bro.
What's up, everybody? I'm Scott Kennard with Reck'd, and check us out on nerdrift.com. We're doing a Reck'd table today. As you can see, not a round table, but a Reck'd table. I'm here with special guest Alon Heredia. I don't know how many more of these we can do while calling him a special guest. I think he's gonna need a shirt one of these days.
Yeah.
Our superstar over there, Rick Rich Dick. And finally, we've got Awkward Anthony in the corner. Probably similar to your high school days, right?
Huh?
All right. So today we're talking about superheroes. What really defines a superhero? What makes them? What takes them on that leap from hero to superhero? Is it the powers? Is it their flaws? Is it Is it their popularity? Perhaps.
Spoiling over here.
That's fine. We're in it.
What is it that makes a superhero?
What makes a superhero?
So we've all grown up with superheroes, right? Like in our lives, except like the Flash. Like
Fuck
we've
you.
all had superheroes, and then the Flash is around
Fuck
doing
you.
Flash
Everybody
things.
knows it.
But I think there's certain things like that defined it. Like I'll tell you what my thought was. Okay, a superhero versus a hero. Superheroes for me has always been the person that has supernatural abilities.
So
On a surface level, I'll say. On the surface level.
Would you say then Batman? Is he?
He has supernatural abilities because he's a billionaire.
That's not super.
Money is an ability.
So
That's
it's
not
Trump.
Right now, we're
That's
gonna
not
disagree
super
with each other,
ability.
but I agree with that.
Wait. Money is not a super
We're gonna
ability.
disagree with each other in a couple
He
minutes.
was
but I agree
born
with that.
rich. That
He was
is,
born rich. Okay.
That is a superpower.
All right.
that's a superpower.
I got
Also-
$10. I got $10.
he's
Does that
like
make me super
poor?
poor?
Martial arts. He's good at like every martial art in existence.
He's inhuman in many
And
ways.
yeah,
In
so
many ways.
but and
How
the
is
same
he
with
inhuman?
Iron Man. When you look at Iron Man, he is unnaturally smart, which I think is Iron Man's like superpower. Even though they're men,
Are you comparing?
they use their brains and they use their resources to give them something, the edge in their abilities,
I'm
which
gonna
makes them a
interrupt you for
super.
second. So the way Batman is just inhuman is
Yes.
the things he does.
You mean the writers?
I think that's why the Christopher Nolan movies pissed me off half the time, because it was like, you can't humanize this guy.
Yeah.
Nobody can fucking do crazy shit at night, in the middle of the night,
Right.
and wake up the next morning
And
and,
be
able
Bruce
to do it
Wayne.
again.
Right.
It's impossible.
Right.
And during the day, he's
Watchmen.
out with models, or he's
Yeah.
working on his
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Batmobiles.
I
and
call
things.
bullshit. He's
Okay.
superpowered in many ways.
But I think there's a distinction.
What, stamina?
There's a
Yes.
distinction that came up.
He's got super stamina?
There's
Yeah.
a distinction that just came up that I caught. You said the writers.
Yes.
And earlier we were talking about it, Scott, you and me were talking about like what makes a superhero, and you said popularity. And I think it's a distinction we need to make. It's like, yeah, all this stuff makes the superhero. The writers make the superhero. They're not real people, but for sake of
writers are rude people.
the writers are real people, but I'm saying their characters are not. So
That's
We
what you
know
meant.
that already.
like no, but I'm saying we can't look at this whole situation and say, oh, the writers make Batman good, the popularity makes Batman a good superhero. There's more beyond that we can
He's got years.
talk about.
Well,
Years to make him
it's
better.
not saying that it makes him a good superhero, but that I think that the popularity of it is what brings him into superstardom, so to speak.
Superstardom, yes.
And so then, if somebody asks you, what's your favorite superhero, you can say somebody like Batman or Iron Man, who in some circles would be considered powerless.
In some in some circles, yes.
I understand that that's not your
Which
take.
is, I see it in depending on the definition of powers, they don't have innate superhuman abilities.
They aren't X-Men.
They're not the X-Men, they're not the Inhumans.
They're not
Right.
mutants.
They're not the New Mutants. They're not gods of Asgard. They're not like we were talking about last time. Iron
Which,
Man
by the
is
way,
just a man compared to like
Thor's
the whole,
on my list.
Thor's on. Okay.
But we're
We'll
talking
get to
about
Thor
We're
later.
talking about basically the definition. We're talking
Yeah,
about
we're
the
talking
definition
about
of superhero.
defining superhero.
And my definition of a superhero is where you're probably gonna go.
Oh, we're gonna-
Where I think a superhero cannot have flaws.
And what do you mean by not have flaws, though? That's where the real question comes that I didn't want to get into last time.
Okay, so let's think way back to when comic books were starting, and one of the, he's not one of the first, but big one came out, Superman.
Yeah.
When Superman first came out, he didn't. The only time he actually had flaws is when he would go back to being Clark Kent.
Right.
And then
he would make up those flaws though.
He'd make those flaws,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then he'd turn into Superman and be the hero. He'd be the superhero.
Yeah, well,
He enables.
his
He
whole
never
thing
has. He never has a how do you say it, an obstacle. He rarely does.
right.
Now,
Right.
my
Doomsday.
thing is the definition of superhero is somebody that it's just they shouldn't have flaws because then they're not a superhero. Heroes can have flaws, regular heroes, and a hero doesn't just because you have superpowers and stuff doesn't make you a superhero.
So then what makes, by that logic, then Superman is the only superhero
Yeah,
in existence?
yeah, and that's why
He even has a flaw,
what about
right?
Dr. Manhattan?
I mean, are we calling flaws
he doesn't.
weaknesses?
He actually doesn't have flaws.
Kryptonite is a
Kryptonite
weakness. That's
would be
a flaw.
weakness,
That's
yeah.
What about
It's a
Dr.
weakness.
Manhattan?
It's different.
He's
We're talking
like
about flaws. That's like a character trait.
inevitable.
That's
Okay,
an
so-
unfortunate.
But then we have the
aspect of him.
other side, Dr.
Like
Manhattan.
Dr. Manhattan.
Oh, see, that's what I was about to get into. So
Okay.
Watchmen
Yes.
was written in that sense that he was the only superhero in the book because he's godlike.
Yeah, he's
He's basically godlike.
inevitable. He can do anything he wants.
Is that the word? You're invincible?
Invincible.
No.
We're trying to find out the
Okay.
word. Inevitable is not.
Inevi- unstoppable, like, you
inevitable
can't
is
stop
not.
Okay.
Just say
Eh,
godlike. He's
that's a
godlike.
stretch.
He is a god. He became
Yeah.
a god.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what I
But
meant.
did that
Like,
make him a
he's
superhero?
unstoppable.
Because on the super side and the flaws, he doesn't have physical flaws, but he has issues.
Well,
Does
see,
that-
the
Yeah.
thing is, he has no arc. So Dr. Manhattan doesn't change from start to finish. He's the same guy.
But I disagree on that. I think he might be the same guy, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have flaws.
No. But see, like,
A flaw
That's
doesn't
also
equal
not
arc.
true
it doesn't
either.
make him a hero, though.
Because all of them, with the exception of
Also.
Ozymandias, their perspective changed throughout the comic, the story.
Like Dr. Manhattan was a human once, but he lost complete touch with his humanity by becoming his god form,
Which
which
took away the hero-ness, because then he eventually let go of humanity.
Then that is what Alan Moore was pointing at, that he's not a superhero at all.
Right.
Dr. Manhattan isn't a superhero. So that's what I was going to get to. We were talking about something about inevitable or something.
it was pretty
Inevitability.
So that's what
It was inevitable.
That's what I was
that
going to get to. Is that he was saying that that's the problem with these characters. That's why the Watchmen book is probably one of the best out there, right? Because it's pointing at the fact that these characters are not superheroes.
I disagree. I think it's pointing that these superheroes are human, are just like us, that are flawed
Well,
like us.
exactly. So they're not superheroes.
Well,
That's
I think
the character what's his name? Owlman and
Silk
Jupiter?
Spectre.
Jupiter, yeah.
Jupiter.
Silk Spectre.
Sure, Jupiter.
Jupiter.
I read the comic once.
Well, Jupiter, wasn't
That's
that
her
her
name.
mom? That was her mom.
They're not
She's so
superheroes.
expressive.
They do what they do for
It is.
selfish
movie.
reasons. They don't do it because they're
right, but I think
But I
that's.
did read the comic.
I think so. Obviously, our idea on superheroes are different, and I actually think that
for me it's just the word defining the word.
being
Defining the word.
super
That was your David.
makes them superheroes, like a firefighter or a policeman, or I would even say Batman is a
like that
hero,
conversation just went
and then
over.
you add something super to
okay.
it, which creates the superhero. So the Flash or the Human Torch,
Yeah.
or
What
Dr.
about-
Manhattan are all superheroes, and they're each have something in there that's flawed, and part of that is that you are geared towards a certain community, especially nerds who are often picked on, often feel like they have a lot of flaws. You have to relate to them.
Well, that was the problem with like early DC. is that I don't know if you noticed that when these characters first came out, Superman, they're godlike, and to combat that, another company came out, Marvel, and they made their characters relatable.
Yeah, thank you, Stanley.
They made their characters relatable. Like, think about the characters that first came out. They had flaws. They weren't superheroes. They were just heroes.
Right. Spider-Man is the quintessential nerd.
Exactly. He was a nerd. The Hulk, he's in an unfortunate state.
Also a nerd.
X-Men.
Of anger.
They were their diversity.
Also nerds.
Well, some of them.
Not some of them.
I don't think Logan.
Wait, so
counts as
no,
No, he's not a nerd.
so Alon, to you, no superhero has a flaw or should have a flaw.
For me, it's the word that defines the character. So hero, superhero. Superhero is someone that... actually, I have a great example of a superhero right now.
Okay.
And it's probably one of my favorite shows is One Punch Man.
No, I love
Where
that.
he
He's not super at all.
He has no
He's just-
obstacles. He's just in
just
the book.
punches it.
Everybody else in the book is more interesting than he is.
He
He solves
states
it.
it.
He's like the Deus Ex of the story.
Yeah.
Because like something happens, he just punches it and it explodes and it's done. That's it. What Saitama does, he enables all the characters around him
Yeah.
because he has no obstacles.
Yeah.
He has no arc. He's the same guy from start to finish.
He's an inspiration.
So
So
that's
that's
what you mean by when you. Every time you said they're an enabler, I was like, what do you mean by that? An enabler is someone who buys like a fat person pizza. That's an enabler.
No.
So-
I didn't mean it in that sense.
No, but that's why I was like so confused
As
every
a
time
plot-
you
as a
said
plot device.
enabler. So it enables the other characters in the story to have their own arcs
to
and
have their own arc.
thing.
They are the superhero, and then the heroes have arcs, their own arcs.
Now I kind of get what you're saying.
He's just protagonist
Exactly.
and
So
everyone
that's what I'm
else
saying.
is the hero.
Superman in the original book, he has no. I mean, other than kryptonite, he has no obstacles. He
And
just
Martha.
he could fucking turn back time if he wanted to. He just goes around.
Yeah, he flows around and he turns back to time and
Yeah.
he remembers his
He
mom.
could punch the earth and crack it in half if he wanted to, but he doesn't. So that's what I'm saying. That these other characters are not superheroes; they're heroes.
Okay, I get that. I get what you're saying. Now I understand what you're saying. I still disagree a little bit. But that's because I think the comic books, they might, like, Alan Moore may have questioned, what is a superhero? But I think the whole point behind it, in my feelings, in my opinion, an opinion, mind you, I feel like a lot of the comic writers and the people doing it were writing these comics, like, for the audience. Where it was like, yeah, we may not have superpowers necessarily, but you can relate to the characters. They're superheroes anyways. I felt growing up that the superhero title was more easily given, where like I may not be a superhero, because I grew up poor and not without any cool powers, but as a person I could still be a hero, but the superheroes could exist and I could still relate to these superheroes because they have the character flaws. It's like, oh, Peter Parker can't get the girl necessarily. He's a nerd, he's Peter Parker.
All you gotta do is find that radioactive spider.
Right, which I've been looking.
I
but
agree with you.
It's
in
a
that
big
sense.
world. There's that, and then I guess for me, for taking the term superhero and saying no, only Superman is a superhero. That's just like it's a little kick in the nards. I'll give you that.
And the canards.
It doesn't not canards, the nards. It doesn't feel good, but also I can disagree because I feel like the writers at the time and the creators of these characters were like, these are superheroes, but they still are relatable and human for the most part. They're still relatable to people because like Superman he might be Kryptonian, he may not have physical flaws. He still had emotional issues.
Yeah, he was a man.
Like,
I
he was a man. He was raised
personality-
by people.
In personality, but
and
not
they're-
in physical form.
In physical form, yeah, he doesn't have a flaw except for kryptonite. Physically, emotionally,
It really
he could have,
sounds
I
like
have down.
we're referring
Superman
to.
has a moral perfect being in an imperfect world.
So what, going
You're pretty proud of that one, aren't you?
I'm very proud of that.
Elaborate, please.
Yeah. Fuck you.
going on what you just said, I don't know what the fuck he's
That
talking
was a
about.
great statement.
There it is.
But, so going on what you said, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree that that we want to be relatable to these characters that are in many ways better than us. But that's why I'm saying that there is that distinction, because we can't aspire to be Superman physically. We can aspire to be Spider-Man physically,
but not even.
I mean,
I'm not saying a waste of time.
I'm not saying that we're ever.
And we get a bunch of grapple hooks.
Let's get a bunch of radioactive spiders.
But see, that's
Duct
the difference.
tape your fingers,
That's the
right?
difference between
There you
Spider-Man
go.
and
duct tape.
That's the difference between Spider-Man and Superman.
Yeah.
Spider-Man was made
Superman
better.
was born.
better. Superman was already super.
But he's not. He's
But
not even
that sounds
impervious
like-
to magic.
That's
Magic in her.
We're talking about something completely
Magic. Magic.
Well, yeah.
Expectro Patronum.
Magic.
Did I say that?
Harry
No,
Potter
oh
could
my
kick
God.
Superman's ass
Yes, he could.
like a
So-
little bitch he is.
But then all these
Well,
things
he gets into a
that-
battle with what? Dark Adam, right? Dark Adam
Black
kicks his
Adam.
ass.
Black
Yeah, Black
Adam.
Adam.
Black Adam.
Dark Adam. I don't want to go there.
But let Scott say what he was saying.
So I'm saying that you're saying Superman doesn't have a flaw, and kryptonite is his weakness.
when
it's
he
not
was
a flaw.
first written, he didn't have any flaws.
Right, sure, but it sounds like you're saying he doesn't have any weaknesses, because that's what your problem with everybody else is,
He-
right? Is that they have weaknesses, and that's what
No,
makes them
they
not a
have
superhero.
flaws. So okay, so
And then
for
we
me-
go into the
for me-
definition of
define-
flaw versus
define
weakness.
flaw.
So like a personality flaw or something. So let's say let's use Superman as an example. Early Superman when he first came out, and then use Spider-Man, right? Why did Spider-Man become Spider-Man?
Got
Right?
bit by a radioactive spider.
No. That's how he
And his
physically
uncle
became.
told
No,
him.
that's how he physically became.
You're wrong.
So
Uncle
how
Ben.
did Spider-Man become Spider-Man? He
Uncle
he
Ben.
he became a wrestler. He started beating up on guys, and he saw somebody was being like a theft was happening, and he let the guy go because he didn't give a shit, because it happened to be
Okay.
the guy that didn't give him cash.
Done.
And Superman was just raised right.
Superman was just
Okay.
godlike from the beginning.
Here's what I think, though. Here's what you're focusing on is the physical aspect of, like, you're looking at Spider-Man got bit by a radioactive spider.
No,
Then
no,
you go
I'm
into
seeing no.
wrestling thing, then
No,
you
it's-
go
I'm
back.
seeing personality. No, I you keep saying physical. Personality traits. Personality.
He's
traits.
saying he let the guy go. That was a mistake. That was a flaw.
Yeah.
And now he's
With this,
now
Anthony
he's
has
learned
some
his
notes on
lesson
this,
and
which will-
become.
and that's a big part of Spider-Man, is that just that quote, what
It's almost
Great
like
power
Green
comes
Hornet.
great
Responsibility,
responsibility.
I mean, Superman doesn't have that. He's just fucking good. He's the Boy Scout.
Well, it's kind of like
from the
it's kind of like Jesus, right? I mean, we have Small World now, but we got Superman's birth, just like we did Jesus in the manger.
that's a really
and then
that's a really great example.
and then we
I actually
jump
think
to
Superman
when he's
was supposed to be
33.
Jesus when he was,
Yeah,
like, first came out.
right.
I don't want to
He
piss off
was
like religion or
allegorical.
like religious people, but
Yeah, it
like
don't matter.
Jesus is a superhero. He's a
Yeah.
gift from the gods, or God, whatever. Fuck, I don't want to piss anybody off, but he's a gift from God, and he just does good, always. Spider-Man was an unfortunate.
Tell that to Zod.
I know.
Yeah, Zod
Spider-Man
wasn't
was an
too happy about
unfortunate
that.
case, and then he realized that he had to do good.
Right.
Same thing with a lot of these characters, like the Hulk. The Hulk, easy example, because he's constantly trying not to break things, because
Well, Anthony,
angry.
you had a few points on this, right?
Yeah, I have a bunch of points on a bunch of different characters.
Let's
All right,
hear your points.
now's your time to shine.
Oh yeah, no.
No, you actually had some really good notes on Spider-Man, which tied into this.
We
and
believe
the
in
flaw
you.
thing, which I
It's
thought was
okay.
good.
We're equal opportunity.
Yeah, no. See, he's well, Spider-Man. I have note written down is riddled with self-doubt. He is nearly crippled his social life by refusing to what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Floss? Did you say refusing to
Floss.
floss?
Flaws.
Oh, okay.
No, flaws.
he
Keep
has
going.
many.
Keep
He has
going.
many flaws.
So many cavities.
Keep going.
He crippled his social life by refusing to trust his loved ones with his secret.
Well, we'll go
And-
back to that one in a minute.
Yeah.
But keep going.
And whether he was considered an offer, whether he's considering an offer to take money for his services, or what to do with the powers of Captain Universe, he often found himself unable to make a single decision for the fear of making the wrong one.
So, what were the offers from the powers of Captain Universe? I'm curious because I'm not familiar with that part.
He became
of his
he became
life.
Captain Universe for like a fat second.
Oh, okay. And then he was like, I don't want it.
Yeah, you don't want to.
So,
Okay, all right.
so you named off the flaws, but are you saying that he is a superhero with flaws?
Every superhero can have a flaw.
Okay, so
No.
so now we
To me,
have
like-
Spider-Man's flaws. So now why is he a superhero despite having these flaws?
Because he's making the right decision for the right people to help everyone.
You're going back into my point I was making. That
Okay.
he's a hero.
That's a hero,
It's a
but
hero.
what makes that super?
Super-
Stumped you.
So
Yes.
I guess the divide we have in terms of like superhero versus hero, and it's between us, Elon, is literally I look at it and I see super is superhuman, or superhuman, or the ability to make themselves seem more superhuman, and that makes them a superhero, which is a much more surface. I'll say that's a surface level, title, where you're saying no one is a superhero, because if we go by the logic of flaws, like Superman has flaws.
He
But
has flaws.
He's an alien, but he's a man at the same time. He was raised by humans. He has the same emotional issues.
Later on, when they wrote him, because they realized that. See, that's why people don't write superheroes. That's the problem. Is that if they don't have any flaws, if they don't have any arcs, why the fuck do we want to care? Why do we?
Yeah,
want
exactly.
To read about
We
it?
can't
Because we can't relate to them.
relate to them. We are not part of them.
Exactly. So that's my thing about the superhero is that it's gone in a way because it's boring. Nobody wants to fucking read. Well, Superman sales went down for a little while, and especially when Marvel came out with like the X-Men and all this different shit, because these were characters that we can care about.
I
Like,
remember the X-Men.
You weren't there. Shut
Remember
up.
back when Marvel cared about the X-Men?
Oh, I know. That's sad. We're not gonna go into
Pepperidge
that.
Farm remembers.
Oh God! You just turned this
So
into
that's
a
my
meme.
point. That's my point. Is that the superhero died because of that? Because of the fact that they're boring. Who wants to know about a character that has no flaws? That has no. They don't. They have no arc.
I don't think you're gonna convince me here because so a hero with superpowers, is that what you call everybody else?
Yeah.
Spider-Man, Hulk, everybody else
Spider-Man
is a hero
with
with superpowers.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not. You know what? I'm not like gonna like if someone says, "Oh, Spider-Man's my favorite superhero." I'm not gonna walk up to him and go like,
Right.
"Dude,
Slap
you're
the comic
stupid.
out of their hand.
You're stupid. Who the fuck says that?"
You should like the
I'm
Flash.
not gonna do that.
Spider-Man's not a superhero, you
But
bitch.
for me, story-wise, when it comes to comic books, I don't see them as superheroes. They're not superheroes. They're heroes with abilities that are more than I have.
Okay.
Okay, so I still think that it's like the superhero genre, and maybe that's another distinction is how what context you're talking about superhero in. The superhero genre, obviously, movies, comic books, is about as you would call them, heroes with superpowers. And that's what's always defined it for me, as I said at the beginning, is like Iron Man and Batman. For me, yes, they have very high IQ, but not into the superpower range of IQ. And they're billionaires, but there's lots of people in this world that are billionaires. Not too many, but probably
there's
too
plenty.
many.
There's enough.
But
There's
yeah,
too many now.
None of them are out there fighting crime.
Yeah, that's a character flaw, not a
Right.
Yeah, and
physical flaw.
and I, like once again, I'm just all I'm
Looking at you,
all
Warren
I'm saying
Buffett.
is that the definition, right, of what I think the definition of that word. I mean, obviously, no one's gonna keep saying that. Oh, like I watch hero movies with people with special abilities. No, nobody's gonna say that.
Right.
I watch superhero movies.
The
Right.
colloquial
I'm just
term.
saying that
Colloquial.
colloquial word.
The word you tried to say?
Yes.
Tried
The
to
word I tried to say
damn
was
it.
colloquial.
It's inevitable.
Colloquial.
That's the right
It's
word.
lost
Use the word
it's
inevitable.
lost its meaning. It's lost its meaning.
Colloquial
So is that.
term.
For me, it's lost its meaning in that sense. What
And-
they did was that Superman got boring. He got boring as a superhero. He got boring as a superhero because he had nothing to. You could not relate to Superman. You couldn't, because when he became Clark Kent, he was putting on a mask. He wasn't. We weren't. What is it? Fucking Spider-Man, right?
Spider-Man put on the mask to become the hero. Clark Kent put on the mask to become the normal
Human
person.
to become human.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is the time of superheroes is over.
It's over. It's the time
over.
of heroes.
Now
It's a great segue. I also think that the age of superheroes is over is a great hint in what our next topic will
Oh
be.
no.
So
I agree.
So
but
we'll
we
come
need to
back
wrap
to that.
this up.
Yeah.
Leave a comment in the.
yeah, tell us what you think it's gonna be.
We know this is a polarizing conversation to have. Are superheroes still in existence in the comic world? Is Jesus a superhero?
Share it with your friends. Let them know what you think and let us know what they think.
And we'll see you next time
You should have heard
On Reck'd Table.
our fucking our music. Our